Queen, have you ever watched someone treat you like an option and then wonder if maybe you expected too much? Have you ever caught yourself shrinking, apologizing, doubting, just to maintain a connection that didn't even honor your worth? This message is for the woman who knows she's not crazy, just tired of lowering herself to be lovable. Because when you finally value yourself, your world will shift. Not overnight, but completely. And it will. Hi, love. I'm Kay Ali Cole. And this is where women learn to love and lead from power, not panic. This is where we return to our truth and learn the strategy of peace, purpose, and power. This is your invitation to come home to your center, to come home to yourself, to choose yourself finally, right? And stay with me until the entire message is over. Because before we even go deeper, there's a Queen exclusive closing gift there waiting for you. A moment of calm and clarity you don't want to miss. And I see so many of you beautiful queens watching but not subscribing yet. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit it now. You give me your time, I give you my best. That's our promise to each other. And if you're in your season of reclaiming your soft power, this is a space that will keep you grounded, feminine, and aligned. All right? Let's grow together. One step at a time, one day at a time, until you reclaim the queen within. All right? What we're going to do right now is walk you through what we're doing in this message. Today we're breaking down why the woman who values herself is rare, and what shifts in her presence, her energy, and her reality when she stops settling. We'll unpack why low-effort people pull away when you rise, what emotional clarity looks like in real time, and how to become a woman whose standard isn't negotiable without guilt. Without guilt. Let's start here, okay? All right. So, there's a quiet power in the woman who no longer chases validation. She doesn't need to prove she's worthy. She doesn't need to beg for reciprocation. She's done shrinking to fit. You know her when she walks into the room. Not because she's loud, but because she doesn't need to be. Right? Her peace speaks before she does. But most women don't get that overnight. They don't get there overnight. They've been taught to be everything to everyone until they're nothing to themselves. So if you ever bent your boundaries, re-explained your standards, or tolerated being almost chosen, you're not broken. You're just tired of betraying yourself, right? Tired of betraying yourself over and over and over again. But we're not doing that anymore. Like, you ever been in the middle of texting back? Sure, no problem. While your chest tightens because you really meant, I'm exhausted and this is too much and I don't want to be bothered right now. Or said, it's fine with a smile, just to go home and feel resentful for being overlooked again. That's the cost of undervaluing yourself. That's the cost. And it's too expensive of a price to pay, right? Let's reframe our mental and understand what's going up here in our consciousness. Here's what we forget. The woman who values herself scares people who benefit from her self-neglect. So when you finally choose peace over people-pleasing, they'll call you difficult. When you stop chasing, they'll say you've changed. And you have. And when you raise your standards, they'll call you too much. But it's okay. But they're not mad at your value. They're mad that they can't get your value for free anymore. It's too expensive now, and they won't pay that price. Because isn't it funny? The minute you stop showing up for everybody's chaos and drama, they start asking if you're okay. No, I'm not okay. I'm just not a doormat anymore. I refuse to be, right? That's not you. We're walking in our queendom, right? And when you start valuing your peace the way your spirit always knew it deserved, you begin to attract what aligns without struggle. There's something divine about choosing yourself. It's not selfish. It's sacred. That's what it is. It's sacred, love. Don't feel guilty, right? I know it creeps up. And let's pause here just to talk about it a little bit more. Because some of you still feel guilty for choosing peace. Guilty for not overgiving or putting yourself first. But love, if you don't protect your own oxygen, you can't help anyone else breathe. Boundaries aren't walls. They're lifelines. They are. You don't have to apologize for finally protecting yours. You deserve protection too. Right? You do. So know this, that there is a shift, and it matters. When a woman values herself, she stops asking to be chosen. She starts choosing herself, and everything changes from there. Everything. Remember to choose yourself daily. You need to choose yourself daily. It's a standard. It's a requirement. You have to put on the oxygen mask first before you can help others, right? And here's what they don't tell you. When a woman finally starts choosing herself, the world around her begins to reorganize. Not always gentle, but always truthfully. Let's walk into that right now and understand that together, right? There's an internal shift, a power, a reclamation that happens. There's a silent moment in every woman's growth where she wakes up and realizes, I don't have to beg anyone to stay. I don't need to explain why I deserve better. I'm not available for almost or someday or halfway. And when she says that out loud, even just to herself, the old version of her trembles. The one that was always patient, the one that waited for potential, that gave more than she had just to be enough. But here's the medicine. You don't become a rare woman by being agreeable. You become a rare woman by being anchored, right? By knowing what you bring, by refusing to make your value more convenient for those unwilling to rise, by standing still when others expect you to shrink. We don't do that. We don't. We understand our value and what we bring into every situation. It's like when you used to wait 3 days, right, to hear back from someone. And now you don't even flinch when silence shows up. It doesn't bother you. Or when you used to break down after a hard conversation, but now you breathe through it. And remember, your peace is your responsibility. No one else's. That's not ego. That's evolution. That's your growth and your maturity, right? That's emotional accountability to yourself. We've been taught that being wanted is the prize, that being chosen is the goal. But love, here is the truth. You don't need to be chosen to be valuable. Being chosen isn't the reward, it's the byproduct. When you embody your worth, people either rise to meet you or reveal why they never could in the first place. And that's the truth, right? It's the truth. And just understand this, honestly, Queen. The moment you stop texting long essays to people who barely read them, that's a spiritual awakening, right? No more long text messages or paragraphs and essays, right? Let's understand the masculine psychology behind this. Let's pull the curtain back for a second, because some of y'all are still trying to understand why a man pulls away the moment you show up with self-respect. Here's a little behind the scenes look at what a grown man grounded man in his masculinity actually responds to. He doesn't want a woman who loses herself for love. He's drawn to the woman who moves with grace but stands like a mountain. A woman who can feel deeply but doesn't fall apart just to keep him. That kind of woman doesn't chase. She chooses from overflow, not need. So if he pulls back when you raise your standard, that's not a loss. That's confirmation. It's confirmation. Okay? Just understand that. It's confirmation if he pulls back. And just like your spirit has whispered in quiet moments, you were never meant to settle in spaces where your soul couldn't breathe. Alignment will always feel like peace. It will. And anything less than that is your sign, not your failure. You deserve to breathe. You don't deserve to drown, right? You don't. Let's talk to the part of you that still feels bad for walking away, because sometimes it does creep up. But Queen, you were trained to abandon yourself to be accepted. So of course, self-honoring feels uncomfortable at first. It will, but at first. But growth will always feel like guilt before it feels like peace to you. Choosing yourself is not cruelty, it's correction. You're not hurting anyone by refusing to self-destruct for their comfort. You're healing the part of you that used to believe you had to. That's the difference. And that is sacred. What? The woman who values herself is rare. And you're that woman. You are worthy of love. You see, the more you value yourself, the less space there is for confusion, because clarity becomes your baseline, not your bonus. And when that shift happens, everything changes. Everything. Let's open that door together right now. Let's walk into that together right now. The shift from approval to authority to power. Because there comes a moment in a woman's life when she realizes, I've spent too much of my life trying to be digestible. And that moment is holy. Because it's the moment you stop shrinking to be liked and start expanding to be loved. No more shrinking. The woman who values herself doesn't shapeshift to fit into someone else's capacity. She walks in her truth and lets the moment adjust, lets the room adjust, let the atmosphere adjust around her. She doesn't try to be low maintenance. She becomes high standard. She doesn't silence her truth to keep a connection. She speaks. She speaks from her soul and lets alignment decide what stays and what goes. And it's okay. If he exit, if they exit, it was never aligned for you. Just know that. Now let's get honest, Queen. There's a reason some men pull away when you finally stop playing small. It's not that you're asking for too much. It's not that you're not making it easy to be with less. Healthy masculine energy doesn't run from your standards. They rise to meet them. A man who's truly grounded will never feel threatened by a woman whose value is high and who values herself. He'll see it as a mirror, not a challenge. The ones who ghost or flinch or fold, they weren't aligned. They were convenient. They were distractions. But they were never your source, never your purpose, right? So let's get a mental reframe from fear to clarity. Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that peace would cost you love, that saying no would make you unlovable, that having boundaries would leave you alone. But let's tell the truth right now. You were never supposed to lose yourself just to be kept. You were supposed to protect yourself so that love could find you whole. to find you, right? That's your job, to protect yourself so love can find you whole and centered and anchored in who you are. Queen, if this is a season where you're finally done compromising your softness for survival, subscribe right now, because this channel isn't just about healing, it's about homecoming. And every message here is built to walk you back to your worth. Tap subscribe so you don't lose your access to your peace again, right? And I thank you as usual for being here. So let's continue. You ever find yourself explaining to someone why your bare minimum should be their starting point? Explaining why communication matters, explaining why consistency is not a luxury, explaining why silence doesn't feel safe to you? Queen, the moment you start explaining basics, you're already overqualified for the relationship. Just know that. Remember, the moment you start explaining basics, he's underqualified and you're overqualified. Because let's be real, if you have to send someone a voice note explaining how to text you back, you're not building a bond. You're babysitting a grown man. And you're not a life coach. You're a woman who deserves reciprocity every day, not once in a while. And your spirit already knows this. Because when something is aligned with God's peace, you won't feel like you're begging for it. You'll feel calm, certain, held. That's what's real. That's what real connection feels like. Unforced, unearned, undeniable. Right? It does. Now maybe you're still wondering, but what if I lose them? What if they think I've changed? What if I seem selfish or finally choosing me? Let me hold your hand here. Every time you choose peace over performance, you're healing a wound your younger self didn't know she had. Every time. And yes, it might cost you a few unhealed connections, but it will return you to yourself. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone emotionally warm. You have to breathe, Queen. Put your oxygen mask on first. Right? You have to. So let's turn this pain into power. So no, you're not too much. You're just no longer willing to be less. And the moment you normalize that, your whole life begins to shift. Right? So stay with me. Let's hold each other's hand and go a little bit deeper into this message. Because you deserve to be that rare woman who values herself, who knows her self-worth, who does. That shift we just talked about, the one where you stop apologizing for being whole, that's not just a moment. That's a new way of living. And you're walking into it right now. So let's keep going. Okay? All right. Let's move on to self-respect. When self-respect becomes your standard. Because it has to. When you truly start to value yourself, you stop chasing confirmation and start choosing clarity. Period. You stop wondering if you're asking for too much and start realizing you were asking the wrong person. You stop thinking a man's attention is a prize, and you start recognizing that your peace is the reward. This is what happens when self-respect becomes your home and not a place you visit. You stop negotiating with confusion. You stop shrinking around potential. You stop calling your intuition overthinking when it's your birthright and your gift. You become clear, calm, and consistent within yourself because you know who you are and whose you are, right? Because here's how it plays out in real life every day. Every day, You used to wait hours for him to respond, spiraling about what you did wrong. Now, if someone's inconsistent, you don't flinch. You just adjust. You used to replay conversations, wondering if you were too direct. Now, you trust your tone, your intention, and your clarity. You used to second guess your instincts, thinking maybe you misread the signs. Now you know the sign was the confusion, and you don't live there anymore. Okay? Just sit with that for a moment. The sign was the confusion, love. This is what evolving feels like. Evolution, not loud, not dramatic, just clear, is waking up one day and realizing you're no longer anxiously checking your phone. You're not rehearsing what to say. You're not walking on eggshells trying to keep someone. Because the woman who values herself doesn't chase peace. She is peace. And that starts within. You don't need permission to be chosen. You need alignment to be met. That's what you need. Alignment. Right? And yes, this new you might make some people uncomfortable. It will. Especially the ones who benefited from your confusion. They might say, she's changed, she's acting brand new, that you're cold, that you're too much now, you're overdoing it. But Queen, don't let someone's discomfort guilt you back into self-abandonment. You're not being selfish, you're being sacred with your energy. And it's okay. And your younger self is watching you, and she's proud of you. She is. And your future self is clapping at the same time, because you're walking in her direction. Because what God is doing in you right now is not for everyone to understand. This is a quiet transformation. It doesn't require approval. It doesn't need applause. All it needs is you staying close to your center and not running back to what drained it, what exhausted it, what tore it down, right? We don't need that at all. Let's pause just for a second and think back. You ever look back at your old texts and think, girl, why were we writing novels for a man who couldn't send a full sentence? Have you ever done that? We've all been there. We were just trying to be understood by someone who hadn't even met himself yet. It's kind of cringy, isn't it? It's not your shame, it's your shift. We've all been there. And it's kind of like liberating seeing that, like, whoa, I'm not that person anymore. I'm someone new. I'm becoming the queen that I am. So here's a new boundary blueprint. If it costs you your clarity, it's too expensive. If it costs your peace, it's not aligned. If it costs your identity, it's not love. The woman who values herself doesn't argue about what's basic. She embodies what's sacred. And that sacredness, it's felt in your silence, in your stillness, in your standards. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You need to uphold them. That's it. That's all. Uphold them, right? So if your silence feels louder lately, if your standards are starting to isolate you, if you feel a little lonely on this new level, that's confirmation, not punishment. It means you've stopped begging to be seen and started becoming undeniable. That's all it means, right? So let's bring this home. Let's understand it fully and embody it and have you return to yourself, right? You stop begging to be seen. Now you're becoming undeniable. So let's anchor this fully so you can walk with this each and every day, living as the rare woman you are, the queen that you are, the woman who values herself, walks into rooms differently. She doesn't need to announce herself. Her energy speaks volumes. She doesn't compete. She commands. She doesn't chase validation. She lives in alignment. She doesn't tolerate crumbs. She sits at the table she built, or she eats alone and enjoys herself. Not because she's hard, but because she's whole. She's not looking for someone to complete her. She's looking for partnership, someone to join her, because she's complete and whole by herself. All right, let's pause here and return to our breath, because when life starts pulling you into panic, when people start demanding your energy, when silence feels loud and self-worth, feels lonely, your breath is your boundary. Let's breathe. Inhale. I am not defined by who chooses me. Inhale that. And exhale. I am defined by who I choose to become. Exhale. Inhale. I honor the woman I am becoming. Inhale, yeah. And exhale. I protect her with my peace. All right. Inhale. I don't chase. Yeah. Exhale. I command. Right? And let's rewire our minds. Repeat after me. I am not afraid to be rare. I am not available for chaos anymore. My silence is strength, not absence. My softness is sacred, not weakness. I attract what aligns. I release what drains. I am a woman of value, and I move like it. And if anyone tells you you've changed, tell them yes. Tell them peace looks good on me. Tell them clarity fits me better than confusion ever did. Tell them this version of you doesn't explain herself. She just lives well. And then smile, because you don't need to prove what you've already become. You embody it and you walk it out, right? You do. You do. You're not just choosing better. You're not just choosing better people. You're choosing a better peace, a better pace. You're choosing better energy, better boundaries. You're rewriting the rhythm of your life from panic to peace, from performing to presence, and from scarcity to self-trust. This is a rare woman's rhythm, and it doesn't miss. It doesn't. Choose that today. Your closing gift is waiting for you at the end of this message. And Queen, if this message stirred something in you, don't let this be the end of your transformation. Let it be the beginning of your consistency. Subscribe so you don't lose access to your truth again, so you don't forget your peace, so you stay in your power each and every day, because you deserve it, right? You deserve all of it. Every message is written for you and for the woman you're becoming. It's not just a video, it's a return to center yourself, to clarity, and to you, the queen that you are. This world will try to convince you that your worth is up for debate, it's negotiable, but it's not. Remember this, always, always, always. You don't have to convince anyone of your value. You just have to stop forgetting it yourself. Right? As always, stay blessed, stay crowned. Have a great night.